chosen by Jue to be the next magistrate and paid by you to join your team. Jinhsi is a Spectrocular Broadblade wielding MainDPS who uses her skill to change her stances, elevating her basic attacks with each stage and finishing her foes off with a gigantic nuke, all while completely circumventing a fundamental mechanic of the game and granting your allies intros without the required concerto. We will cover her skills, her best weapons, echoes, echo skills and echo sets, her sequence notes, her best teams and how to play her correctly. Let's go! Let me introduce you to today's sponsor, Boot.dev. Have you ever wished to program your own game with fantastic gameplay such as Wuthering raves? Just like I did back in the day, as you can see right here? Well, thanks to Boot.dev, that is an easy feat. Boot.dev offers online self-paced programming courses focusing on backend development in a unique approach similar to a captivating RPG game. You will earn XP, levels, achievements and complete quests to get a spot on their global leaderboard, all while you will learn backend development in Python and Go. Their platform is designed to get you writing a ton of code, because getting your hands on the keyboard and shipping projects is the only way to really learn. If you ever get stuck on a challenge, Boot.dev has a very active Discord community to help you out, and the best part is, they never want any student feel like they spent money on something that isn't helping them, which means they do offer you a 30-day no questions asked refund policy, as well as a free demo of every course and all of their interactive features. Kickstart your new development career now and click the link in the description box and use my code iamrivenous to get 25% off your first payment for Boot.dev. That's 25% off your first month or your first year, depending on the subscription you choose. Jinhsi's basic attack is a 4-hit combo and otherwise features the standard mid-air, heavy attack and dodge counter. All quite basic stuff, so we will mostly skip this part. Her resonance skill is where she gets interesting, since the skill itself also is heavily connected to her forte and changes depending on her stance. And her stance changes when using her skill. Well, or her incarnation basic 4, but we will get to that in a little bit. In any case, using her skill makes her dash forward, dealing minor spectral damage, and you will likely actually never use this. However, her skill changes into overflowing radiance while you are not inside of your incarnation stance, or after you use your intro skill, or alternatively also basic attack 4. However, you will also likely never use her basic 4, which means we can go straight from her intro into overflowing radiance. Overflowing Radiance can also be cast mid-air, and after doing so, Jinhsi will enter the Incarnation stance, which will bring us to her forte. Her forte has a lot of different components to it and is, to be honest, like basically her entire kit. The first component, Incarnation, lasts for 10 seconds, and while in the Incarnation stance, your basic attacks are replaced by Incarnation's basic attack. The basic attack cycle of Incarnation basic attack will not reset regardless of what you do, which also means you can easily switch her out and back in during the state. While in Incarnation, Jinhsi's skill is also replaced by yet another skill called Crescent Divinity. Crescent Divinity deals a large amount of spectral damage, generates 5.67 resonance liberation energy, and in opposition to Overflowing Radiance will not advance your stance. Instead, while in Incarnation, your stance is now forwarded after casting Incarnation Basic Attack 4. To finish this part of her forte, her heavy attack, dodge and dodge counter are also replaced by the respective Incarnation versions as well. This was only the first part of 4 for her forte, though yeah, she has 4 parts to it. Anyway, after casting Incarnation Basic Attack 4, her Incarnation stance will end and she will enter the Ordination Glow state instead. During this state, all of her basic attacks are replaced by Incarnation Heavy Attack, which basically means you can only cast heavy attacks during this time, which also means you kinda do not wanna do that, and instead you just want to cast her now again newly acquired skill, Illuminous Epiphany. Yeah, she has 4 skills in total. Bear with me just a little longer. Illuminous Epiphany deals a large amount of damage in 2 instances, whereas the 2nd instance will deal additional damage for each stack of incandescence. So what's incandescence? That is the third part of her forte. Basically, she can hold up to 50 stacks, and every time she or a party member deals damage, she gains 1 stack or 2 stacks if said damage was dealt by a coordinated attack. However, she can only receive 1 stack every 3 seconds for each element, and the timers for both types of damage, so coordinated and non-coordinated, are independent from each other, but they do share the same element restriction. This means, for example, spectro damage and electro damage have separate cooldowns, and this applies to all 6 elements. If we take just yet another example, if our party would consist of Jinhsi, Rover and Verena, since all of them deal spectro damage, she can only get 1 stack every 3 seconds. Actually, that's only partially true. Verena's ultimate is a coordinated attack, which means she can actually generate 2 additional stacks every 3 seconds. For another example, if the team would be Jinhsi, Yunlin and Baizhi instead, she could get 3 stacks every 3 seconds, as we now deal 3 types of damage: Spectro, Electro and Glacio. But again, Yunlin and Baizhi both have coordinated attacks. This means Jinhsi can still only generate 1 stack every 3 seconds, but both Yunlin and Baizhi could generate 3 stacks. 2 from their coordinated attacks and 1 from other damage sources from them. There is actually even more to it, but we will get back to this when we talk about her outro. That all being said, after casting her skill Illuminous Epiphany, she gains Unison, which is the 4th and finally last part of her forte, which will automatically trigger her outro and the incoming Resonator's intro skill when she is switched out, regardless of her current concerto, and it will take priority over her concerto as well. So this has been a lot, so I think this time we are actually due for a simplified recap of her basic skill and forte stuff. Basically, after casting basic 4 intro, she can cast skill Overflowing Radiance, which allows her to enter Incarnation. During Incarnation, she can now cast skill Crescent Divinity as well as 4 Incarnation basic attacks. After Incarnation basic attack 4, she enters Ordination Glow, which then allows her to cast Illuminous Epiphany, dealing some insane damage, granting her Unison and having her exit set Lost State. Jinhsi's Resonance Liberation Purge of Light does actually purge not only light but like the entire enemy field, and deals absolutely massive damage, costs 150 energy and generates her 20 concerto while being on a 24-second cooldown. Her intro skill deals some minor damage, and even though her inherent skill Convergent Flash buffs set damage by 50%, it is still some fine but not massive damage. Her outro reduces the element restriction on her incandescence from 3 seconds to 1 second for the duration of 20 seconds. This is extremely good and makes it very easy for her to reach 50 stacks after her initial rotation. Her last inherent skill, Radiant Surge, simply grants her 20% spectral damage bonus, and this is actually relevant and I will get back to that later. Last but not least, her traces give her 12% attack and 8% crit rate, which is just really nice. Knowing all that, let's have a look at her damage distribution. Jinhsi's basic attacks during Incarnation also count as skill damage, which also reflects her absolutely overwhelming skill damage dealt distribution. Not only that, basically all of her damage dealt comes from her forte and ultimate, well, and skill. This means our final skill priority is forte into ultimate equals skill into intro into basics. For her weapons, her signature weapon Age of Harvest comes out ahead by actually just quite a bit. Jian's signature weapon, Verdant Summit, is also just slightly better than the 5-star standard weapon Lustrous Razor. If we disregard all 5-star weapons though, you will have to forfeit quite a bit of damage. However, Helios Cleaver, the craftable Broadblade number 41 and the Battle Pass weapon Autumn Trace are your best choices, and even though you cannot really make use of Autumn Trace's effect, the crit rate provided is still quite good. A 5-piece Celestial Light with Jue is her best echo set and skill. However, depending on your current main and substats, going for a 2-piece mix match of Celestial Light and Lingering Tunes with either Jue or the Mech Abomination is another possibility. Jue will not only provide a constant income of incandescent stacks to Jinhsi, but also provides a 16% skill damage buff for her, which makes any other echo usually a straight up worse choice. While echoes can usually not generate incandescent stacks for her, as echo type damage is excluded for that, Jue and also the Mech Abomination both partially deal skill and outward damage respectively, which makes them able to generate these stacks for her. This also means running a 2-piece mix match with Mech Abomination is a viable choice as well, especially if you do only have Jinhsi as the only Spectre unit in the team, as you are now able to generate stacks from 4 different elements. And this in turn means a 5-piece lingering tune set with Mech Abomination is a good choice as well. At least if you don't run Yinlin in your team. For your main stats, crit values on your 4 costs are her best choice, with crit rate being higher in value if you have Lustrous Razor, and crit damage if you have your signature Age of Harvest. For her 3 costs, either double Spectral or mixing Spectral and attack percent are her best choices. However, while both are really close to each other, in any case, her best choice again depends on your weapon. For the standard 5-star, double Spectral is her best on slot, whereas if you have her signature, mix matching attack percent and Spectral percent comes actually out ahead just slightly. A setup of 4-4-1-1-1 is also possible, but unless your Jinhsi is S6 and Age of Harvest rank 5, you will lose out on a bit of damage. For Giga Whales, a 4-4-1-1-1 setup might actually come out slightly ahead though if you do have her S6 and her signature weapon at R5. As for her 1-cost echoes, the classic double attack percent is the best choice and honestly also only choice. To summarize all of this, these are your best echo layouts by weapon. Jinhsi has also an ER requirement of around 25 to 35%, which means regarding her substats we want to first and foremost focus on reaching that threshold. Afterwards we want to prioritize crit values, attack percent, skill damage percent, and lastly flat attack and liberation damage percent. All added up together, those are the final stats I would recommend. If you have money to waste, I mean invest, spending it on Jinhsi sequences is a good way to trade your money for less difficulty in the game. Her S2, S3, S5 and S6 all give outstanding damage improvements, although her S4 doesn't give her justice on paper as it grants those 20% all attribute damage bonuses to the entire freaking team. Overall, Sequence 2 is a good stopping point if you just want to dolphin a little bit and does not only provide you a huge boost of additional damage, but also makes her way easier to play due to her guaranteed 50 stacks of incandescence. That all said, let's cover her rotation. At least, as far as we can, since her playstyle can vary a little bit and I'm actually very sure we will later on discover a better rotation. A video cannot stay evergreen, but a sheet can, so please check out the sheet for updated information. We will start off with her intro into her ultimate, followed by her skill Overflowing Radiance into skill Crescent Divinity, into 4x basic into skill Illuminous Epiphany, and then switch her out. For the first rotation you will have your ultimate available, but deal significantly less damage due to the missing incandescent stacks, at least without her sequence 2. This also means her full kit only fully comes to shine starting from the second rotation, and this in turn means you want to repeat this rotation 2 times in a row, except the second time you do not have her ultimate. Because Jinhsi will basically permanently be in the air, that also means switching out during her incarnation state is actually a horrible idea. Which brings us to her teams. As already mentioned previously, Jinhsi massively benefits from coordinated attacks and currently only 5 units are able to provide that. Mortefi, Yinlin, Duanwu, Baiji and Verena. Going for a rainbow team is a great choice for her, and Verena does not lose too much value thanks to her coordinated attacks. This means slot 1 is obviously occupied by Jinhsi. For slot 2 we want to choose our hybrid, so either Mortefi, Yinlin or Yuanwu. And for the last slot, our support, Verena or Baiji. Technically, Taochi is also an option if you want to chase that one big thumbnail number or just like really big personalities, but she does not provide enough stacks to actually compete with the other supports in a real scenario, even though her outro grants skill damage deepen. So let's end this video with a team example rotation. Jinhsi, Yinlin and Verena, which looks like her current best team. We start the Tower of Adversity with Yinlin. Skill 1 into her ultimate into skill 2. Then we switch into Verena, basics 3, 4 and 5, ultimate skill Echo Bellborn, jump into 2 mid-air basics, into her outro, and then we go finally into Jinhsi. Now we do our previously mentioned Jinhsi combo of intro, ultimate, skill, skill, 4x basic, skill, and switch back out again to Yinlin. Skill, ultimate, skill into Yinlin's forte. Back to Verena yet again, this time we start off mid-air and go intro, mid-air basics 1, 2 and 3 into plunge, skill heavy into echo and ultimate cancel into outro, and back to Jinhsi, who now has her full power available, being able to get 50 stacks, and we can demolish everything in our way with intro, skill, skill, 4x basic, skill and outro. That all being said, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and a comment about your thoughts on Jinhsi and if you will pull for her, or if you prefer to save with Qiangli instead, or maybe you will just get both. In any case, subscribe for more Wuthering Waves content and guides and join the Discord and have a great day. Peace.